I wanted to come out, bring some supplies out, and feed the cats, and check on things, make sure everything's still looking good out here. So far it is. I did get a present from the cats. I believe somewhere I read the cats will show that they earned their keep. And one of the problems we had out here were mice. And right inside the barn door, look what I found on the floor. Just laying there waiting for me. So that may be the cat saying, look, we're earning our keep out here, so feed us some more food. But a dead mouse laying there right in the doorway. At least I hope that's the cat put it there, because it didn't get eaten, but it got bit by something, and I think a snake would have ate it. Most things would have ate it, but the cat left it here for us to see it. With this new camera, also I thought maybe I could take this opportunity, and I don't know timber framing. I don't know how you do it. I don't know the terminology. But I thought maybe with this camera I would be able to show you a little bit about how the barn is built. The way it's all put together without nails. It's all wooden dowels for all the framing. You know, they're cut, these big beams are cut in to the sides of the post and then run through with the wooden dowels. Now this is a 40 by 60 barn, and it's gone through some changes, obviously. I mean, there's some post with the holes and the tenons still in them, but nothing there. So I believe at one time there was other things going on around here, but the main frame of the barn is still up. And I think the way this is done, it will be up for a long time. But hopefully you can see good enough on this camera and see how this thing is built. Now, I don't know the history of the barn. I don't know how old it is or what's happened to it, but this can kind of show you, hopefully, the construction. It's massive. But everything, I mean, there's not a lot of framing involved. And the way I understand timber framing, it all like supports itself. It's almost like if you took out one piece of structure, the whole thing would come down. That's the way I understand it. But you can see the way it's built, and then the framing for the metal roof. Well, this has slate, but I think you would pretty much do a metal roof close to the same way. There's a few pieces of slate I got to get replaced, some roof repair to do to it. I mean, not much considering how old this thing must be. And this framework going across here, I have to assume that it was for like drying tobacco. You know, I could see tobacco plants hanging over these 2x, and maybe that's what this was used for. I don't know any other reason to have all of this up here. I thought I could put a deck on it and have a hell of a storage place. But I love the craftsmanship and the way this thing was built. But there was something else here. You can see where that's been cut off. Those boards have been cut off, and they would have run over to this position. So I don't know the markings that's on the wall. I mean, I know nothing about it. but I know it's an incredible barn. I love it. I do want to get all of the battens up to seal off the siding, but that's how they built the timber frame. And then that goes on down into the bottom part. This is excuse me, from what I understand, it's a bank barn, and they dug out part of the hill here and built it up against the hill, so you have, I got the stables underneath it. And at some point, I believe it was raised. I'll take you around and show you the other side of it. But there's some massive beams in this thing. I cannot believe the size of these beams. They're not 6x6s, that's for sure. And then that was all added on. I met one of the guys down the way, and they told me the old guy that owned this up here, they said he had an apartment in the barn. Now we've got these little rooms right here that go back into nothing. That's been kind of built on. And we've got that. I have no idea what that is or what purpose it served at some point. But I like the ladders. Got these ladders that go up to that top. Again, I don't know what they're for. I wish I did. If anybody's got any ideas what that might have been, let me know. But at some point, I believe this was either raised up or supported up somehow, and they put this block underneath it. You can tell where they dug a footer, poured a footer under it, and they dug into the hill right here. So how it was originally, I don't know. But they put all this block down on the footer, and then the beams underneath here, they put cement under, and they cut them. Evidently these were sitting on the ground at one time, I don't know. But they've been cut off, treated, and these cement pillars put underneath the beams. But each one of them, and again, they're pretty massive beams. But you can see the structure underneath here. Now that, if you look at that board, those are hand cut. I mean, you can see all the axe marks that cut these big beams. It's almost like they felled a couple trees and cut them as they were laying across there. And where they cut these posts off to put the, I mean, there you go, you can see some of it there really well. Everything just ties together. Amazing, there's no nails in it. But where they cut these posts off, you can see how big they are. And what's left of them. But I believe this footer and this block work, somewhere I saw a date scribbled in the concrete, and over here we can read this. Looks like red Harding, 73 or 78. So, and this was the Harding farm. So that makes sense that it would say Harding. But the footer was done in 73, 70, or 78, evidently. But this thing is going to be here long after we are. Whoever inherits this from us or steals it from us, this barn is still going to be here. Everything looks good. Everything was still in there. Boy, it looks bleak. No leaves anymore. This is pretty much it. But you can see where I have to get I guess the kids have all busted out the glass. All those windows were in there. And there's only the one door left on this side. That door is missing and the outside doors are missing. But you can see where I've got to put all the battens there. I believe that's oak. And get out here with a ladder and take all that Celotex insulation board down. I guess they tried to use that to seal it, and it didn't work too well. Or maybe it did, it's just the age. That right there, I'm guessing goes into a cistern. Until my wife got all this cleaned back here, we never saw that. But my guess is the gutters from the barn went into that, and underneath here is probably some big cistern. I don't know how to find out. But the gutter, you can see it's the downspout of the gutter is like right directly above it. So I believe that it just came down. Well, if the camera would focus. I believe it came right down into a cistern. Because there's nothing else out here. I mean, they would have to go a long way to get it to run down into there, so I believe it. I don't know. And there's remnants of plumbing inside the barn, and especially down here in the stable. There's some old cast iron pipes that are run like plumbing. And it just, I mean, it's a fascinating barn. I love it. This is one of the reasons why, when we were looking for property, we chose this property, was to get this barn. And believe me, it's in much better condition than that old house over there, the one with the other lot. We looked at that lot first. It's a couple acres bigger. This one's a little over 10 acres. The lot next door was a little over 12 acres. So we picked this one on top of my barn. I've got 4 of them up there. And they're really neat. And they run down. You can see the thick wire that runs down. My wife kept pulling and pulling and pulling on that, thinking it was a vine. Couldn't figure out why she couldn't get the vine down. But I had to explain to her what that was. And that's all aluminum. I'm surprised, you know, they didn't come out here and steal this. I think they got the one off of the house. And there's one, the same thing on this end of the barn. with the lightning rod that runs all the way down to a metal stake that's run into the ground. But that's the barn. Where that downspout went, I have no idea what it went into, where it went, or what it did. I don't know if there's, something else under there that fed into a cistern or worked its way around. But we found part of the downspout when we started clearing all this out, and I have no idea where it went. But to me, it looks like a perfect place to put a few of my 330-gallon totes, and that's a massive roof to be collecting water off of. So I'm gonna see if I can figure out that cistern down there on the other side, and on this side I'm gonna put 3 or 4 of my totes and collect all the water off of this roof down in this area, and that'll be for gardening and feeding the chickens and various things. I don't think I want to drink it, but the wells up here are still really good. So once I put the well in, that's where we'll get our drinking water and our living water. But I think I'll collect massive amounts of rain. But I gotta figure out how to find the cistern to find out what it is. I'm not gonna do anything with it. I'm gonna rebuild the bridge here to drive up into it and put the battens on, get all this damn insulation board off of it. Put the battens on it and have me a barn. And before anybody asks, because I've been asked at least 100 times, why didn't you build the house inside the barn? Well, number one, it's a big space. I would not want to have to heat and cool this. Number two, yes, you could build a house inside the barn and nobody would know there was a house inside here. But that just didn't seem, that's not something I want to do. Some people could do it and that'd be fine. Not the way I wanted to do it. And if we converted this into a house, somewhere on the property we'd have to build a barn. Well, it's cheaper to build, a 960 square foot cabin than it is to build a barn. 2,400 square foot barn. It basically has 3 levels. So that's why we're building a cabin and leaving the barn alone. Just didn't make sense expense-wise, and I like my barn. I want it to stay a barn, but it'll be a cool place to hang out.